Hey y'all, this is part 2 of the episode 13 of the Lancer Conversation with Coach Padgett, assistant varsity coach and JV coach of the boys basketball team here at East. If you want to watch part 1, you can go back to our social media accounts. It should be one of the last few posts on our page. If you want to go back to watch episode 1, here's episode 2. During your tenure, what's been some of your favorite moments, or do you have a favorite moment being a PA?
Probably my favorite moment does not have anything to do with sports. Probably my favorite moment was announcing on a night we played Edwardsville. It was a big crowd, and we had a guy that started our booster club here named Charlie Woodford, and I read a story about Charlie, about how he was injured during World War II, and he was knocked out. He got hit with flak. He was in a tail gunner on B-17, I think, and he got hit with the flak and was out. And it was freezing because he was so high in altitude, and one of his crewmates, who was from Iowa, came and saved him, put it like a blanket on him and kept him warm until they got down, and then he was able to recover. It took him a while, but he was able to recover. And so that night at the game, we introduced Charlie, and then we brought out that guy that saved him. His daughter and his son came out and met Charlie at half court. And that was, I have chills right now telling that story. And so that, Charlie was such a big time Belleville East guy, and that was so cool. That was such a great moment. So that moment was pretty amazing. As far as the basketball goes, that the Belleville East tournament, there was a stretch run where Belleville West had E.J. Liddell. We had Malcolm Hill. We had Javon Pickett. St. Mary's from St. Louis was in the tournament, and they had the point guard at SLU. His name is escaping me.
Yuri Collins.
Yuri Collins. The top 4 teams in this tournament it was crazy. There was a great moment where we played in the championship against SLU High, and the SLU High fans were just the biggest bunch of crybabies that I've ever heard, and they were yelling. They would yell at me if like the score, the player board was wrong. If number 10 got 2 points and it should have been number 12, they'd freak out, And so they were convinced that they were getting ripped off by, the Illinois officials, and everybody was against them. Geez. So we beat them, and so they freaked out. And it was a great game. I think that was Javon Pickett that was in that one. So that was fun. That was a big one. As the PA announcer, we did travel back in the day before you were here. When the football team, I think in 2010, went to the state semifinals. We lost in the state semifinals here, but in the state quarterfinals, Mr. Gluck and I, the head of the PE department, they said, hey, you guys go up to Chicago, to Minooka, and you can announce the game. And we're like, great, that's awesome. So we're on the internet, and it was early days, so it was like, I had to bring all this, it was just crazy stuff. And so we're announcing, we get up there, and we're dressed like, you're going to be in the press box, in the booth. And so we get ready to go, and the people from Minooka come up and say, oh, sorry, there's people here from whatever, and so you guys you can't stay in the press box. So Mr. Gluck and I had to go down in the crowd, set up the thing, and announce the game, and we could hardly see. It was freezing cold, and freezing cold, and we were not dressed for that at all. And then we won the game, and we had a kid named Trey Parker who they made a pass at the end of the game to win the game, and Trey knocked it down. And then we couldn't really see what happened, but Mr. Gluck and I were like, we think he knocked it down. The Lancers win. It was so cool. It was so cool. So at that moment, even though I wasn't the PA guy, that was a fun thing at Minooka. And then the next week, we played Wheaton Warrenville here, and that was awesome. The atmosphere was fantastic. That was a great game, too. We lost that one, but, man, that was a good one.
Transition to now, JV coach. How did you get that job?
So there was a situation during COVID where the coach that had it couldn't do it anymore, and so he had to give it up. And so I had wanted to do it before, and I love basketball so much that when my kids got older, I actually coached at one of the local grade schools, 7th grade basketball, 4 years ago. And then so when that coach had to leave, Coach Creek came to me and was like, hey, here's this, if you want to do it. And I'm like, yeah, I definitely want to do it. So I got back into that. And again, I was fortunate. That team was really good. Our team last year was really good. This year we're really good. So it worked out to be good. And Coach Creek and I have a great relationship, even though he hates the Mizzou and he hates the chant.
Yeah.
We really have a good relationship, rapport. Like I say stuff to him, and he's like, and so we're able to debate things back and forth, and so I think that's helpful.
Speaking of Coach Creek, what's it like coaching with him, especially down the sideline where things kind of get heated at some points?
It's fun. We have it's a great time. Like I think it's hilarious. I think it's enjoyable, and especially now because we've been through a couple seasons together, so I understand. Like I know what he's thinking 95% of the time, and then. There's some times when things will happen, and I'll just stand up and say, "You got to do this," and he does it. Like he doesn't even think about it; he just does it, And then he'll come during games and say, "What about this?" And I'm like, eh. So the rapport is really good, and it's fun. And Coach Brockman and Coach Moore, like we all have a good time together. It's a lot of fun.
You guys are 8-0 now, first time since 2012, not including the COVID season. In your opinion, what's one thing responsible for this good start?
Pressure defense. The way that the guys play defense is tough. There have been a lot of games where teams will come out and throw a haymaker at the beginning, right? Hit us right in the mouth. And then over the course of the game, without the pressure that we're allowed to apply on defense. I mean, Mason Mosley is a great on-ball defender. Talis Lowry is ridiculous. Yeah. Darian Singleton is a great defender on and off the ball, and a smart player, strong, right? So those guys. And then you sub in TJ Montgomery, Jackson Muse, like those guys on the ball, they make it really tough for the guard. I mean, the kid from Mater Dei the other night's a great player. He's really good, but man, he had a hard time in the second half. So as we take that punch, and then as the game goes on, our defense is pretty good.
Let's talk about the play of Antoine Wilson right now. He's doing great. He's averaging 14.6, shooting 47%, and he's shooting 39% from three. He stepped up in big games against Collinsville and Edwardsville. What's your thoughts on his play 8 games in?
Well, Antoine's just one of those guys, right? Like he just does things right. I would love to tell you that like Coach Creek and I give him these magical tips of things to do, but that's not really the case. I mean, Antoine just goes out there, and if we need a rebound, he gets a rebound. And he does jobs like against normal community at Mount Vernon. I mean, they had a guy. That guy's 6'9", weighs like 220, 230 pounds. Antoine's giving up 60 pounds and 6 inches to this guy, and he outplayed him. He outscored him. He defended him. He out-rebounded him. He's in the old days, he's what we would call a junkyard dog. Like he just does all the stuff that needs to be done and makes it happen.
With you being the JV coach the JV team, and there's going to be seniors leaving after this year, so those spots are going to be open next year. Who's some guys that we don't really know about or under the radar that could take that next step for varsity next year?
Well, there's a lot of guys there. Probably Khalil Waller. Khalil's a great football player, and he's a strong kid, and he's a good leader, and he's a good defender, and he's tough. So that's somebody that'll sneak into that spot. Of course, Talis is a junior, so he'll be back. So then you got Chris Jenkins, Julius Caldwell, juniors. So those guys, can definitely fill some spots. And then the sophomore class, Savion Mitchell, Nate Smith, who's hurt right now, can really play. JC, Jeremiah Conway. So there's guys coming, and our freshman class is good too. And so there'll be guys to fill in those roles, And you don't know. Like 2 years ago, you wouldn't have said this about Twan, right? So, those somebody will step into those roles.
Let's talk about your next 2 matchups after today against Alton. You play Althoff or Granite City. What do you know about them?
I know that Granite City beat Belleville West, and I know that Althoff beat Mater Dei.
Yeah.
So I watched a little bit of film on Althoff through the Mater Dei scout. And so, they're athletic. I know they got Patton Lieb over there, and he's a shooter. I coached him when he's in the 7th grade. So they got some guys that can score at Althoff. So Tuesday night here should be a good one, and it's always fun in those crosstown games.
Yeah.
And they've been playing better, I think they've been improved. So that should be a good one. And like I said, Mater Dei is no joke, and Althoff beat them. So that Tuesday night should be tough. And Granite City went to Belleville West, I think it was at Belleville West, and beat Belleville West.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a good one too. So between these next 3 games would be a good warm up for Collinsville.
Finish the interview off. What's one strength, one weakness of the team right now? Do you feel like you guys are doing really well? Something you need to improve on?
Strength is easy. That's our defense. On the ball pressure it's exceptional, and it'll wear the other team down. I think that something that needs to work on is our offensive execution a little bit, setting better screens, running our plays a little better. Sometimes right now we're able to get buckets because we can just give buckets, right? But sometimes, at some point, we're going to have to get to the situation where we get buckets because we executed something correctly. And we do that sometimes. We don't do that enough.
Well, Coach Padgett, thank you for taking time to join me today. It was a long interview, but it was a great one. And good luck the rest of the season.
Well, thank you, and thank you for doing this. Like I say every time, you guys are fantastic, and this is a great thing that you guys are doing here at school. And I hope it's something that sticks around for a long time.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.